There we go. We got one. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode 454 being recorded on June 14th, 2017. I'm Ryan Shrout.
I'm Jeremy Hellstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
I'm Alan Malventano.
Welcome to the show that never ends.
Or begins.
Or starts on time. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about that. So welcome to the show, everybody. It's been another week. I'll be honest with you. I've been gone. I was gone Sunday through this morning. So I don't know what the hell happened. Hopefully somebody has been keeping track of
Video games happened.
Oh, that's right. E3 is occurring.
Yeah.
It's apparently going really well now that they let in the public.
Yeah, I was
Short
curious.
lines, no enormous crowds.
Has it been a shit show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had to open the doors 15 minutes early the first day, yesterday, because the lines were so long.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it's the only chance they're going to get to see the games looking like that, so I can understand why they'd want to get in. They're not going to look like that at launch.
I saw somebody tweet out a picture of a sign at the convention center that said "How to get in line," and it was like an explanation of like where lines are and like how to queue properly and stuff
Were they
like
British?
How to cute like
Yeah, must have been
you
British.
stand behind the next person. Like what?
Yeah, you know, but sometimes the lines.
Have you ever
wrap
waited in a
around.
long line with people? They're awful.
In general,
Yeah.
people and the lines.
Because they've had a lot of years to forget what they learned in kindergarten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had
You know.
I was at Intel.
Well, they don't
this
like the
week.
holding hands thing.
So I was at Intel this week, and it was like the conference room where we were doing our meetings, and then like the restroom was down a hall to the right and to the left. And they're very particular about you having, every time you left the room, you had to have like a
person
with you, right? An Intel rep.
chaperone.
And so they would make these announcements like, all right, if anybody needs to go to the restroom, we're going to take a group down. And Marco and I were laughing because I was like, okay, stay to the right and keep your hand on the wall as you walk. All right, and never get, if your hand leaves the wall, then you're doing it wrong. And then I eventually just decided to break the rules. I just walked through that building on my own.
Oh no.
Nobody caught
So
me.
you saw all of the secret stuff.
Oh no.
I saw all the cubicles everywhere.
Came back with a pocket full of new CPUs that you can only fit one CPU in your pocket because they're so big now.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
They're enormous. So welcome to the show, everybody. We record the show on Wednesday nights, starting usually around 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific or so, at pcper.com/live. A very easy to find URL and remember. But if you need a reminder, you can go to PC right now. Not then, now you can go to pcper.com/subscribe. And you get this little page here that asks for your name and your email address, and we send you a notification like an hour or so before we're going to do any live streams. And if we do any special live streams, like if NVIDIA or AMD or somebody is here to talk about a product, we'll do that a day in advance so you have a little bit of a heads up when we do anything quite like that. So pcper.com/subscribe to get you on that mailing list, and then we mail you. That's really all we use it for. Despite all the jokes we've had in the past, I actually don't give Josh access to the mailing list.
Often.
Yeah. Trust me, if you get an email from Josh, you're going to know who it's from. You're going to know. And of course, we have our continuing support through the Patreon campaign at patreon.com/PCPer. This is your location if you wish to become a regular contributor to us on the site, right? So this is a recurring monthly thing that basically says, hey, if you like the content we do, if you like the podcast, the website, the YouTube videos, whatever it happens to be, but you think I do ad blocking, or you just really enjoy it and you want to contribute to us, this is the way to do it. All this money goes directly to the team here. And as is normally the case, we will announce the names of new contributors and or upgrading contributors live on the stream. And sometimes people get randy and want to be the first one on the list here, and I don't see anybody yet, but we'll have that on there. So patreon.com/PCPer. We thank everybody who supports us that way. It's been super awesome. One thing I'll mention real quick before we get started is we are toying with the idea, and probably by next week we'll have this figured out if we want to do this. I think we're going to talk a little bit about, I think it's on there, cryptocurrency on our rundown. The idea of if you want to support us, but you don't want to donate,
You don't have money.
you don't have like cash to pay us that way, or you don't want to do it or whatever, or even if you just want like a fun project to play around with, we're going to do maybe put out a public wallet ID, and if people want to do crypto mining to a nice hash type thing, which we'll talk about and describe what that is. So if you have any feedback on that, let us know.
If that's too much trouble, shoot us your password and we'll set it up for you remotely.
Yeah. Send us IP address, login, pass. It's fine.
You won't even notice it.
Social security number,
all those things would be good. So I think by next week we'll probably have something like that on the site. So just check pcpro.com if you want. Otherwise, we'll talk to you on the next podcast episode. So let's get into the reviews and stuff that occurred. First up, Ken did post a review of the Dell XPS 13 2-in-1, which, now that I think about it, we probably should have held off on this discussion. So we'll talk about it in a couple different ways, right? So this is a slight modification, I guess maybe not slight, but a modification to the XPS 13 line that has been incredibly popular since its release back in 2013?
Yeah.
2013, 2014. And the Dell XPS 13 was, I remember we saw it at CS for the first time. It was like the wow product.
It still kind of is.
CS.
It still kind of is.
And there's not a lot of laptops that have duplicated this very well, mostly because a lot of them refuse to put a camera on the bottom of the screen, which is, I can understand why. But this is a conversion of it because it's now a convertible 2-in-1. Talk a little bit, Ken, about the design changes. Like, it's got different hardware in it, in the screen, and now it's kind of like you can fold it over just like Josh and kind of.
Whoa, hey.
Oh well, this
is
Camera's
not
on the
that
bottom.
flexible anymore.
when you fold this one over, it actually has the ability to come back, though.
Oh.
So there's that.
Me, I just lay whimpering on the ground. But you should see where my webcam is located.
I'm going to leave
He's
it where
looking
it
at
is.
it right now.
See, Ryan, why do you have to open that can of worms?
Right now. So, go ahead, Ken.
Well, I don't know how I followed that one.
Yeah.
But, so
Tell me about like what the hardware change was.
Yeah. So around CES, we started seeing rumors of this sort of 2-in-1 based yoga style XPS 13. And what we had assumed initially from looking at the rumors is that they would just essentially take the same XPS 13, and when they went to sort of new Intel processors, Kaby Lake, they would add the 360-degree hinge, and that would be it.
Right.
They decided to take a slightly different approach to it, and these machines are Intel Y series based. So what was previously Core M, the ultra low wattage processors, are now the Core i5 7Y54 and i7 7Y75, which just roll off the tongue, for the available in these machines.
And even more confusingly, the Core M3 still exists.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
But this system doesn't use that. So
yeah. So we're dealing with much lower power processors here. Interestingly enough, Dell's claim is that these Y series parts are actually higher performing by a slight bit. I think it's like 10% than the last generation XPS 13 with the 15-watt processors in it, with the U SKUs. So that was certainly a shocking thing to hear at CES, is that they were claiming through the use of dynamic power management and aggressive upclocking and downclocking of the processor to get sort of the same level of performance that you would expect out of an XPS 13 in this machine. Beyond that, the industrial design is pretty similar. They didn't really mess around with what worked very much. As you alluded to, the webcam is one of the big changes. Instead of being in the lower left-hand corner like it is on Ryan's original XPS 13, it's now in the center of the machine, which makes it actually usable if you're in the tablet configuration, because as you would be holding a tablet and trying to use a front-facing camera, that's how you would want it. And this time it's a Windows Hello camera. So you see the two lenses there. One is a normal webcam, and the other is an IR camera for using facial recognition-based login, which actually worked impressively well in my experience. This is the first time I've used the Windows Hello stuff.
Yeah, it was for me too.
And it's been amazing. I mean, it would take less than a second to recognize my face and unlock the computer. I would just open the lid, it would recognize my face, I'd be in way quicker than I could have typed any password or done. Like, I have this MacBook with Touch ID, and that's not exactly a fast thing, because you have to open the lid, you have to wait for it to kind of wake up to the initial screen, you have to put your fingerprint, your finger on the button, and the Siri button on this stupid thing is next to the fingerprint reader, so I end up hitting the Siri button half the time. It's kind of a mess. So yeah, Windows Hello is just a great feature, and I think more laptops that we're seeing should have it.
Can you like get around it with,
Yeah, it has a password fallback.
No, I don't mean that. The other way around. Like, what if I printed out like your Facebook profile picture really big and wrapped it around my head?
That's what the IR is supposed to be for depth sensing. So my guess is that it's doing some basic 3D geometry of your face, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure it's
You'll
not
need a 3D printer as
but-
opposed to just the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3D printed Ken head. Okay, got it.
No.
With a heat gun
Yeah.
pointed at it to warm it up.
Warm it up some and then hang it up from it. Yeah.
One of the cool things about the sort of Hello implementation in Windows 10 is that you can retrain it a bunch. Like you can just add additional scans to train it. So like I occasionally wear glasses. So I put on the glasses and it wasn't recognizing me very well, but it just said, oh, we aren't quite recognizing you this time. You can go back and add more images. So I did that. Like I had an issue once. Yeah, I had an issue once with having some gigantic headphones on my head. So I just kind of like retrained it, and then it was just flawless in any sort of circumstance. So
So it's judging you.
Yeah, it's judging you. Yeah,
I'm sorry, that's just ugly. You're gonna have to take those off, or I'm not gonna let you in.
everything is always judging you, Jeremy.
That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
What about so the keyboard is a little bit different. The trackpad seems pretty much the same from previous XPS 13s. The hinge design seemed fine. Like you didn't notice any I was gonna say aggressive, but like obnoxious wobble of the screen while typing or anything like that. It seemed to be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Dell has been doing these 360 style hinges for a while now. I think like the XPS 12 and a couple other machines in their history have had it, and it's pretty much a solved problem at this point. It works well. It works exactly how you would expect from any sorts of these machines. The keyboard was fine. It's got a little less travel than the regular XPS 13 just because they
Made it thinner.
Yeah, made it thinner.
A little bit thinner.
Yeah, so but it's still fine. It's still one of the better PC keyboards in my opinion, and the trackpad is again unchanged. It's just it's a good option.
Connectivity.
So you have one Thunderbolt 3 port, which is a Type-C connector, a USB 3.1 Type-C port, a micro SD card slot, and a headphone jack.
Okay.
And the best thing that Dell does with this computer is they give you a simple Type-C to Type-A dongle in the box.
So converting it to a Type A female,
so you can plug
just plug in a normal
you can plug
adapter.
any existing thing into your computer. It's a small detail. It probably costs them $5 in added BOM cost, and it just made me infinitely happy to see.
Right.
Because again, I bought this MacBook, and I was actually driving away from the Best Buy at the time, and I realized, oh crap, I can't plug anything into this. I forgot to buy an adapter, so I went back and bought some dongles, and it was a bad experience.
It's interesting because the XPS 13 non-2-in-1 has Thunderbolt 3 on it, but it also has a Type A connector because it's a little bit thicker of a device. So we did a page on performance here, but I'm going to caveat this with our performance numbers were fairly low. And after we published the review, we kind of went back and forth on them a little bit. After we published the review, they came back with this not matching their performance thing. So they sent us a new machine that we just got in today. So we're kind of retesting the performance aspects of it. We already see some of the differences they claim we would see, but also we're seeing like the Cinebench score we're showing here of like our rating was 79. We saw the new system come back and say 80 once, but also say 126 once.
There seems to be a lot of variability with this sort of dynamic clocking power stuff they're doing. Yeah, and again, like I said in the review, even though these benchmarks didn't score well, at least in our testing, and even the scores that Dell expects aren't necessarily the highest performing laptop you'll ever see. Using this laptop for normal tasks, I had no problem. Right. I used Photoshop, I edited photos, I web browsed, I did all of that sort of stuff, and I never ran into a performance issue. So I think it's one of the things where the sort of aggressive power management they're doing to help battery life and to help thermals is hurting them in benchmarks, but for normal usage scenarios, it's still acceptable.
And it's interesting because you did some clock speed measurement / recording. This graph here is the Huawei MateBook, which is a previous gen Skylake based Core M5. And a couple of things worth noting is that it seems to stay at the higher clocks a little bit longer than this graph here, where it's maintaining lower ones. But also note that like it's peaking, just under 2.5, and it kind of has these little blurps up to 2.7, if you will. But the XPS 13 2-in-1 with the Skylake base, is hitting just under, it's probably hitting like 3.4 or almost 3.5 when it spikes up. So that's a benefit of the move from Skylake to Kaby Lake is that you get higher clock speed spikes. And part of the Dell power management and the Intel power management is that the idea is to get work done very quickly and then be able to come back down into the power states. So I think a lot of this will come down to cooling and and kind of, it's a thin device.
Yeah.
So the amount of cooling you can put in it, and then when you heat it up running something that is an elongated test like Cinebench, it takes a while for it to kind of cool off. But the idea is not very often is a normal consumer doing a workload
running
like
a load
that.
for that long.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably not encoding video on this.
No, and if you are, then you have to set a reasonable expectation for what that means for your system, I think.
But like other content creation stuff, like using Photoshop or Illustrator, you're up and down. You're not constantly doing something. I mean, you might be applying a filter that takes a little bit of time, but you're not constantly hitting the computer, so it has time where it can downclock and improve thermals and
the battery life. Battery life was pretty good at 7.33 hours. This was a 1080p screen, right? That's the only option for this.
I think there's a higher resolution option. It's kind of gone back and forth on Dell's website whether I've seen it or not, so I don't exactly know how widespread it is. But I think currently they list
that's pretty good.
The 3200 by 1800 or whatever it is.
Yeah. So that's a pretty good result. It's better than the Huawei MateBook that we had last year, although the Huawei MateBook was a tablet essentially and significantly thinner.
It's a 60 watt hour.
So it does have a 60 watt hour battery.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because the regular Dell XPS 13 has a 60 watt hour battery in it as well. And I happen to, long story short, I bought one at Costco thinking I was going to use it as my personal system. The battery life came back at like 5.5, just under 5.5 hours. Because it has the QHD Plus screen, the 3200 by 1800, which just kills your battery life.
And it has a 15 watt processor in it. So for the same battery, you have a higher end processor and the high resolution screen draining your battery.
So this is $12.99.
Yeah.
Is that high?
Personally, I think it's high. Performance questions aside, because we still have to dig more into that. It's not exactly as clear cut as we thought it was by looking at our one specific unit. There might have been an issue there. Even if it performs within, I don't know, let's say 20% of the modern XPS 13, it's still difficult to justify for me. It's a price premium, and you have to really know whether or not you're going to use your 13-inch laptop as a tablet. Right. I don't know how often I would do that.
Yeah.
I like having a touchscreen on a laptop. I think it's a convenient thing to have. I've grown used to it on some of these PC laptops we've been testing, but I don't know if I'd pay extra money for it.
Yeah, and in this case, you're kind of paying extra for the thinner, lighter status of it versus a normal XPS 13, and that's kind of par for the course for like ultrabooks and ultra thins. So check out the review. It's on PCPer.com, and like I said, we're going to probably tomorrow we'll reevaluate all the performance testing, and we'll update that page accordingly once we get there. So. Real quickly, Lee posted a review of the Corsair TXM series power supply, 750 watts. The TXM falls into the intermediate classification of power supply from Corsair. If you look at this picture, they apparently have seven different lines of power supplies. Not 7 different power supplies.
No.
7 different lines of power supplies, enough to cover everything.
I've certainly never heard of the VS series.
That's general purpose. The lowest we've ever gone down in terms of when we buy stuff or do builds is the CX, right? Like we've often used like the CX 400 or whatever.
I was
for
using
builds,
a CX 650 earlier this week.
But the benefit here is cost. It's still 80 plus gold. It still has a 7-year warranty. All Japanese capacitors, 105C rated, all type of stuff. It's a fairly small power supply. It is still
really skimpy on the plugins too.
There's not a lot.
For 750 watts, it does look a little bit skimpy there, but it has an MSRP of $99. And it is a semi-modular, so like your ATX power and I assume 8-pin CPU and one GPU are hard coded.
Nope.
No, what is
just
it?
Just the ATX power plugs.
Really?
Yeah, everything else is modular.
Yeah.
Huh.
And one of those
So the
SATAs is actually the 8-pin.
The 8-pin CPU. is still hard. Okay, so not the PCIe. I
Yeah,
gotcha.
I guess that's
gotcha.
what you would expect because you could be using onboard graphics.
You could be using. I mean, hopefully, if you're using onboard graphics, you
Yeah,
don't
with
need a
750
750 watt power
watt
supply. But they may have other variants, other wattage variants of this particular unit. So, yeah, you can see there's not a lot. You've got 2 connections for GPUs, so they are two connector cables. So you still have 4 8-pin connections, and then you've got peripheral and SATA in there. So,
Which,
yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, what are you
mean,
going to do
yeah.
with more than 4 8-pins these days? Really?
I'm starting to think that, like, for a lot of this, like, if you look, it's small. There's not a whole lot of complication inside the unit. Look at the connector output. It may just be that, like, components are just at an efficiency point that, like, offering it for less than 750 watts would be
Silly.
like, yeah, like we
Yeah.
could
I think
we
they
could make
do
it save
have-
500, but it's not going to change any of the hardware inside,
Yeah.
or not much of it. I don't know.
I think they do have lower wattages in this line.
Yeah.
At least
And it
like
makes the
650.
efficiency curve a little tighter, so you gotta fudge that.
So 99
Not
bucks.
fudge that, but fix it.
Yeah. 99 bucks. Still got a gold award. 7-year warranties are good with all that stuff. But if you're looking for a lot of connectivity, not the best option. But Corsair has plenty of power supply options for you. So did you want to go that route? All right, let's talk about another story that Ken wrote. Look at Ken go. Hey, Alan, is your story on here?
Not this week.
Ken, how about Josh? Is your story on here?
Which story you want to talk about?
I don't know. A story? No? All
A
right.
story. Well, we were going to go into a little bit more depth of the 5
Oh, yeah, that's true.
nanometer.
That's true.
Is that on? Where is it?
It's not on there. We didn't think about it, but we'll add it in.
there.
Let's go back to the cryptocurrency discussion here. It's popping up again. Everybody's kind of writing about it and trying to get in on this train that is rolling along. We first did a story on Bitcoin mining back in 2011, July of 2011.
We were all so young.
Yeah.
I think I was essentially a 10-year-old at that point.
seems about right.
Essentially, you still are.
We did some discussions on that. We did. Let me see what the GPU.
The good old days when we could actually explain what the hell was going on with the blockchain.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
So we
You
looked
still
at
explain
mega
it.
hashes per second of Bitcoin mining on the GUI miner, and we were looking at GPUs such as the Aries, the Asus Aries, which is 2 HD 5870s.
Look at those hash rates.
Yeah, pretty interesting. Performance per dollars. We did all kinds of cool stuff on that. But anyway, that was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Now we're going to use the same icon.
Because it's a great icon. Look at that icon.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I think Scott made that for us, right?
Oh, I would imagine.
Yeah. So what the hell? There's this thing.
All right. So let's step back a little bit. We have 2011, and then we have end of 2013, early 2014, which is where it really started to affect the PC hardware business last time. We had, at that point, I think it was like the 6970 and the 7970 came out at the end of 2013. That sounds right, Josh?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. We'll go with that. The 7970 just coming out, and hey, what? You couldn't buy any of them because miners were buying them all up. They weren't buying them up to mine Bitcoin. They're buying them up to mine Litecoin and fun currencies like Dogecoin, which is still the best cryptocurrency.
Yes.
So we've definitely seen GPU shortages, like we've seen GPU shortages in the past with AMD GPUs, mostly because of their price to performance ratio. But then the script algorithm, which those currencies were using, got solved by ASICs, and no one really talks about cryptocurrency mining anymore. That brings us to what I have coined, and I'm gonna keep hammering this one on until it picks up, as third wave cryptocurrency mining, which is Ethereum.
Okay.
I can't explain to you what Ethereum is right now. I linked the white paper in that article. You should pull open the white paper just so people can see.
Okay.
Is it supposed to not be like easily turned into an ASIC?
Correct.
Yeah,
the workload is variable. With
Is it a
Ethereum.
proof of stake versus?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
That's a rumored thing that might happen. So when you're mining Ethereum, it could be essentially
different, like-
any workload. So you can't exactly ASIC optimize it
Okay.
because it could be anything.
There's
Any
multiple, in other
any sort
words.
of algorithm.
Yeah.
So
when I was trying to read some of this, I was coming into discussions about, well, like it's not really just meant as a currency. It's meant as like literally a block exchange for anything. Like you
Yeah.
could build software around Ethereum. And like, I was like, I just want my quarters and dollar bills. Let me
Your
pay
little-
for the
your little
software.
Bitcoin
instead.
Bother me
coins.
with the details. Just give me money.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
to some degree, sure.
Can we print out some 8-bit Bitcoin coins from that picture?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
So Ethereum is a sort of natural evolution of this whole blockchain stuff. It's a very advanced thing. People have been thinking about this for 6 years now. They put a lot of development effort into it, and there's a sort of diehard community. So they've come up with this. And at some point in the last, we'll say 6 months, Ethereum started becoming worth a decent amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that caused another GPU shortage, this time with Polaris-based GPUs, the 470, the 480, the 570, the 580, these sort of newest GPUs that AMD sells, since they haven't introduced any higher-end options as we wait for Vega. And right now, you cannot find one of these for anywhere near MSRP, no matter where you look. Yeah. I've had an alert set up for RX 580 come in stock, and by the time I get the alert from now in stock and I click the link, it's already sold out. We're talking like minutes.
Yeah.
Every single time one of these GPUs comes in stock. And they're at such a premium right now because of the price to performance to watt ratio they get when doing cryptocurrency mining, essentially. So Ethereum uses I guess it uses multiple algorithms, but essentially AMD's GPUs are built better to perform in these certain algorithms, and at the prices they're selling, it becomes extremely profitable to buy one of these GPUs, mine with it, and take the profit, essentially.
So, and that led you to the idea of like, okay, so say you have a GPU, you bought a 1080 Ti, you play games a couple hours a day at the most. Maybe while you're out at work, you're starting to think, hey, maybe this GPU could work for me.
I kept seeing people refer to this, and like we did the Bitcoin mining thing, and we did the Litecoin mining thing, and it's like, well, I guess it's time to get back into this crap. So I had the recommendation of a program called NiceHash, and it's amazing at how far this stuff has come. NiceHash is essentially a marketplace connecting people who want to buy computing power to people who want to sell computing power. So if you want a lot of cryptocurrency mined, but you don't have the hardware, you can place essentially a buy order, buying up a certain amount of compute time for a certain compute power for a certain time, and then that order is fulfilled by the sellers, which are people with GPUs running any sort of mining application connecting to the NiceHash servers, or as we've been doing, the NiceHash miner, which is a very nice, very well-developed application which will benchmark your GPU against all of these sort of different algorithms that these cryptocurrencies are using. Beyond Ethereum, we're talking Zcash, we're talking Sia Coin, we're talking a whole bunch of different altcoins, as they're called. And it will essentially benchmark your GPUs to figure out the performance and then start mining them for maximum performance. So if they get a buy order in and Ethereum is in demand right now, your PC will be mining Ethereum for someone. If Zcash is really in demand, it will be mining Zcash. And where this comes into play is AMD GPUs and NVIDIA GPUs tend to kind of be better at different currencies. So there are a lot of CUDA mining applications, but just because of architectural reasons, the NVIDIA GPUs may not be as good as AMD GPUs in something like Ethereum. But however, for Zcash, they're great. Gotcha. So it's a lot of sort of price to performance to a lot of math that you don't have to do anymore.
Right. What's interesting about this kind of service is that you just kind of install it run it, give it a Bitcoin wallet, because it will deposit your money in Bitcoin.
Yeah, so instead of getting paid in all of these esoteric altcoins, you're getting paid in Bitcoin, which is as we've seen in the last couple of weeks, extremely valuable cryptocurrency.
But like you said, it benchmarks it, and then you just kind of hit it, and then like as the bidding shifts, as more people want to buy into this or this, they'll change your algorithms to make it more profitable for you because they're taking a 3% cut or whatever it is. So it's more profitable for them if you're more effective getting the work done.
I mean, you could absolutely maximize your profit by picking these altcoins to mine, and that's what the people who are buying this GPU power are doing. They're doing the math, they're figuring out the market, they're doing all this sorts of crap. They're mining to specific Ethereum pools or Zcash pools. But it's a lot to keep on top of. Whereas you could just start this application, walk away, and it's fine. And you could set it up to do things like when you're only start mining when you're idle for a certain amount of time. So if you're idle for an hour, start mining in the background because you're obviously not using your GPU. You're obviously not using your computer at that point.
Yeah.
And we've got these expensive GPUs in our computer that for most people, they're not gaming a whole lot because they have got other crap to do in their life. So it kind of makes sense to try to recoup some of that cost. Electricity is obviously a concern, but with the current values for Bitcoin.
It's funny because if you look 6 years ago, how much was the Bitcoin worth? Like $14. $14.
Last time we wrote that article.
And the electricity hasn't really changed. Cost of electricity hasn't really changed.
Why
Bitcoin
didn't
is
you buy
worth
like a grand worth?
$2,500.
Yeah.
So the profitability of this is substantially higher, right?
Yeah.
In theory.
Yeah.
So like there's lots of places that have done benchmarks of like which GPUs will earn you what. A quick rundown is like an RX 580 could make you about $3.25 a day. R9 Fury X makes you about $5 a day, and a GTX 1080 Ti makes you about $10 a day, right? So in theory, if you could buy a 1080 Ti for what, $599? Is that supposed to be the MSRP, right?
Of a what?
1080 Ti? Is it $599
no,
or
$699.
$699. So you could, in theory, almost pay for a 1080 Ti after 2+ months.
Yep.
Yeah, but if you could buy a 580 for
A $199.
$200 to $250,
Yeah.
you could pay it off.
It pays itself off in
less
like
than
a month. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you could
Hence why they're
resell
so
it for
hard
twice
to
the
find.
value and make
Hence
the
why
money
they're going
immediately.
for $400 on eBay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which, as a side note, if you own a Polaris-based GPU, sell it on eBay and buy a better GPU because it's free at this point. It's
As long as you can
it's
buy
just
the
a
one
free
you
upgrade.
want. Because what we've seen is when you wrote the story last week, it was only really the AMD GPUs that were getting hit by this. Since then, we've started to see like the GTX 1070s.
Yeah, they're starting to
which
sell out too.
are now getting price hikes, and they're getting significantly harder to find.
The 1070 is actually an interesting situation because in a lot of this stuff, it performs better than the 1080 because of GDDR5 versus GDDR5X.
I find that interesting.
I mean, there's a latency
This is the
difference.
latency.
You aren't necessarily concerned about throughput for a lot of this stuff. You're concerned more about latency.
But that's fine. In
just
general,
depends on the specific workload.
higher frequencies would, in general, I would assume, give you lower average latency. But clearly, there's a difference. So
Yeah.
I find it all very interesting. We're running some systems here, just like for a couple of reasons. One, we don't have to buy the hardware, right? So. Yeah, at that point, if you've already got the hardware, it kind of just makes sense to run it. And if you've got the air conditioning and the electricity to do it.
That is another consideration is like also if you did your system build, not only AC, but if you did your system build and your power supply might not have been up to snuff, you're going to find out.
That's true. Well, yeah,
because this will load a GPU
you're
more
loading
than
GPU.
some games
It's
will.
one of those like power virus type applications, right? So hopefully you've built your system in a way that your power supply is.
I'm just saying
if
your system just like randomly starts shutting down.
Although I will say
also if your antivirus application starts
that's true.
saying, hey, what are you doing? It's because if you randomly found these applications on your PC, it would be bad news. But since you're specifically installing them,
because there's malware that has miners built in, and unfortunately,
it's the same miners.
It's the same miner code. So the AV makers were just like making the signature off of the mining code as opposed to the malware that was running the miner.
Right.
Like so they kind of like focused on the wrong thing. But yeah, ESET, which I know you use, is very bad about it. ESET.
Oh well, I don't run that on that machine. So
not 32
or on my
is
laptop,
like,
as it turns out. So it's interesting. I will say, I was gonna say, like, credit to what Corsair power supply was it? Was it the
There was the RM1000i
or something? Yeah, RM1000Xs. We were running at like 1,050 watts for days.
It was a champ. Yeah.
and it has gone. I think it ended up kind of just like going like, okay, it's proven itself. Let's put a 1,200 watt. You know, it's like, okay, but it does create this environment where you start to see other things like, you hook up 5 GPUs to one motherboard with ribbon cables and stuff like that, and all of a sudden,
fascinating world.
Can the motherboard push that much power through all of its PCI Express slots?
Apparently
Can the power supply really connect to 5 GPUs and not have its OCP?
Can the driver figure out what the hell's going on if you give it 5 different generation GPUs?
And
that turns out pretty good at
it's
that
actually pretty
these
good.
days.
Yeah. And do we have any systems mixing AMD and NVIDIA? We
No.
don't. We've done.
People do that.
Yeah,
because
people do
you can
it.
have their drivers
Windows
installed
7
side by
is
side
done
now.
Yeah.
But no.
So yeah, I find it really interesting, and if I think by next week, if people think it's interesting and they want to kind of contribute to PC Port in a different way, this might be an interesting like social experiment of what people like. How big of an audience do you have, and how much are they willing to contribute of their idle clocks to something like this? Because it's basically, Jeremy, you've done this for a long time, like folding at home, BioInk. Like, this is essentially the same idea as instead of contributing to science, you contribute to something else.
Your own
to the bottom line.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's super interesting, if nothing else. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. But from a gamer's perspective, it sucks because now the GPUs want to buy, you can't find.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can't buy them, but if you have them, you might as well mine with them.
How does the 290 and 390Xs do?
They do well.
The problem is that they're very power hungry, like 275, 290 watt cards,
Yep.
right?
But,
And the 1080 Ti outperforms them considerably.
Well, sure.
And that's 250 watts.
Yeah.
And then a 1080 is 180 watts, right? So you start to measure, you have to take into account power consumption to some degree, because the more efficient you are, the less you're spending on electricity and like air conditioning.
Yep.
Which I'm super excited to see what an air conditioning bill looks like here now.
Especially since it's been 95.
Yeah, it's been
Recently.
in the 90s here.
Now, I heard something interesting today is that apparently with the price of Bitcoin as it is now, it's actually becoming profitable to mine on AWS instances.
I did the math the other day, and no.
Is it not there yet?
$1 an hour.
I did a lot of Googling for cloud services that offered GPUs, and there are a couple where you could break even, but no, AWS's GPU instances are very expensive.
So maybe that was done with the 2,900 cost.
Yeah,
They drop
maybe.
back now.
Yeah, that might swing it the other way.
Considering that Bitcoin
What
has
about
gone
that virtual gaming service that you were trying out? They sent me the email, but I couldn't get on it because they didn't have one close
work
enough
up
to
the
me.
courage to install
They're
a
a
crypto
dollar-
miner on Liquid Sky.
But they're
It's
You
a
could.
new Steam
You
app
absolutely
I'm
could.
trying out.
they're $1 an hour, right? So you got to think you have to make more than $25 a day
Well, what GPU is
to pay
installed
for
in
it.
those?
Not a 1080 Ti,
Oh, well, then you're not going
right? So and that's only like $10 a day.
The
So,
Liquid Sky is supposed to move to Vega.
yeah, I don't think it's going to double its throughput. So anyway, we'll follow up with that. And we'll keep an eye on it. You know, it's one of those interesting things where AMD and NVIDIA love to sell graphics cards, and there's even like the rumors going around. I think there was a story posted today on WCCF Tech about like NVIDIA releasing 1060s and 1080s that are specifically geared towards mining, and
Which
maybe
is starting to seem very credible at this point with all of the leaks we've seen.
it just doesn't make any sense to me. You're already selling all of the stuff. Why make new cards that are cheaper?
Because it's the hot thing.
I mean,
Yeah, but that doesn't. But see, here's the thing.
the only thing I could think about is
Ryan.
if they have bin GPUs that would be perfect for this purpose that they can't sell otherwise. I don't know.
I don't know what that
what
would be.
part
Like
would be
output channels
disabled,
failed.
but
Video output channels
it seems
failed on
unlikely.
GPU.
Yeah.
No, the pictures
But
that we
no,
saw
I
had
mean,
all had
we
video
were
output
complaining
still,
last
but-
time that, yeah, AMD is selling all of these boatloads of cards, but they're not seeing a penny more than they would have
True.
at a
which is
normal
exactly
volume.
the case now.
The resellers are making all of that extra money. If AMD was to suddenly say, yeah, we're cranking up the price of something, or NVIDIA, we're cranking up the price by 25%, 33% because they're super popular right now, people would go insane, and rightfully so.
But the rumored prices
You
are actually the
rebrand
opposite.
a card that
They're
would have sold
cheaper.
for $300, make it a mining card, it's special, and sell it an extra $100, people will buy them.
Yeah, people
And now
people are pointing out
they
that
get
there's no display outputs on these.
The
on these
rumor
cards.
is
Well, that
actually
one
the
there is,
opposite,
but-
Jeremy. That it will be like $100 to $150 cheaper because it's
But what
NVIDIA-
would they have
because
sold
it's a-
that GPU at originally?
Well, it's
That's
it's
what
the
I'm
GPU
thinking.
from a 1080
They might just have like a
going
single
for
DVI
like
out or something.
350.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But
I would assume
no-
they went the other way.
The,
It's a 1060 selling for 1080 prices.
Yeah. So Ryan, that image you're looking at in
Mhm.
that WCCF Tech post has a DVI connector, but the article says they will have no video inputs. So I think it might just be like a bad, like,
Mhm.
hey, we just took our 1060
Tesla.
and we put it in this slide without
Yeah.
thinking about.
So, and the thing that's interesting is, it's even though this helps AMD because they're just selling everything that they could possibly make, and it helps AMD's partners. The thing you have to remember is, in the long run, this is bad for them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
of two reasons. One is the eventual flood of used gear that will end up on eBay and Amazon resellers and all that type of stuff when this stuff kind of eventually either levels out or crashes, depending on what it's going to do. The other reason is you're selling GPUs, but you're not selling people into your ecosystem. You're not selling people into the Radeon gaming world, which is where you want, because you want them to come back for more. You want them to be part of that community, buy into other software services, hardware, etc. And the same for AMD and NVIDIA. Like, a sale is a sale, no doubt. Nobody's going to turn it down, but you really want them to buy into the idea of the GPU, of the graphics, of the gaming side.
You know,
Jeez,
one
you
thing I
almost sound like
haven't
a
understood
consultant
yet.
or something there.
Go ahead, Josh.
One thing I haven't understood yet with GPUs, especially, is why can't I get the first sample free of their digital smack? Because, you know, when you're a dealer and a pusher, you got to give the free sample, and they'll keep coming back for more. I
Right.
still haven't gotten my free sample.
I understand.
Okay, other than writing. Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah. Yeah.
I should be in marketing.
No.
Me and Pablo.
Yeah. All right. A lot of other
Marketing
stuff.
behind the 7-Eleven.
A lot of other stuff to get to. I do want to point out we did get 2 Patreon contributions. Thomas Binbo pledged $3. Thank you, Thomas. And Dimitri, we need Josh Tech t-shirts. Edited their
We
pledge
do.
from $10.99 to $12.99. The Howling at the Moon, Howling at the Optical Drive, or not the drive, Howling at the Optical Disc.
This, yeah.
Josh Tech t-shirt. It really.
Oh, thank
really
you. But are you
scared.
sure that's wise?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I think that's a profit source that we have yet to
Exploit.
truly leverage.
Merchandising.
PC Perspective, the flamethrower.
You know, what would be even better is instead of an optical drive, just have your PC per logo up there that I'm howling to.
Yeah.
No, we don't want to be associated with that.
No, we're going.
Yeah, no, this was a Josh Tech t-shirt.
Yeah, we don't want to cross the
This was
sites.
Very different entities.
Don't cross the stripes.
You know,
on the
What's
sites.
circular? Why-
very
why
little
wouldn't you?
association.
Yeah.
No, it could work. All right, let's get to the other stuff. Samsung announced a FreeSync 2. What did I say?
FreeSync 2.
FreeSync 2 HDR display. They actually announced 3 of them.
That is the size of a Cadillac.
So
Yes.
these are the first FreeSync 2 announcements, which means that they are they have to have low frame rate compensation. They have to have some minimum brightness level. They have to have, like, what was it I say, 25% higher than sRGB or 50% higher. No, 2x larger color space than sRGB.
Yeah, not volume, space.
Yes.
Yep.
So this is 125% of the sRGB color space, 95% of the DCI PE, I think that should be P3 color space for these displays. But the one that's interesting, the most interesting, is this 49-inch ultra wide, the C49 HD90. 49 inches across,
Yeah.
a 32:9 aspect ratio with a 1800R curvature. 3840 by 1080 resolution. So this is essentially, this may temper your excitement a little bit. It is essentially 2 1080p monitors
Side by side.
side by side with no bezel
Yep.
in the middle.
No seam.
But it is
So
144
your
hertz.
Threadripper machine comes with a neck breaker monitor.
Neck breaker.
144 hertz refresh rate. With that, you know, the HDR and all that type of goodness involved in this. $14.99 pre-orders are already ongoing. And it ships, I think, at the end of June.
The price isn't bad.
$14.99 is not as bad as it could have been, for certain. And it's, I mean, just looking at it, it's even hard. Like, I saw a picture of one on a desk at some point, and it just looks crazy.
What's funny is you're tempted to call it 1080p panel, but it's kind of a 4K panel.
What do they
It's
call
not
it?
kind of a 4K panel.
It's 4K wide.
It's half 4K.
Yeah,
38.
It's
Yeah, we've got
4K
a
divided,
new
like cut in
HD.
half.
It's
like
4K
horizontally.
is
It's
four
half a
1080p panels. This
Yeah.
is 2.
Right.
It's
I
half
know.
4K.
I
They
know.
call it DFHD for
Yep.
double full high definition.
Double frickin' HD.
So how wide is this thing?
Whoa, that's a double full
49-inch
HD
angular, so it's
all the
probably
way.
45 wide or something.
like, what would
maybe I don't know.
That's
I'd have to
fairly
do the-
large.
I'd have to do the math.
It
What would
should
the-
have been
what would the size of-
EWHD.
What would the size of the two 1080p panels be if they were in place of that? Like well, the diagonal.
It'd be
So-
24 inch.
yeah, two 24s.
that's
Okay.
not bad. That's actually
Because
pretty
division
reasonable.
is hard for Alan. He's
How'd
a
you get the-
nuclear guy.
how'd you get
49
Where do you
divided
get
by
divided by
2?
2?
That doesn't work that way.
Why not?
Yeah, it was.
Because the
trig.
diagonal is on a different angle.
It's pretty close.
The angle
Yeah,
of the
it's pretty
diagonal
close.
is in
Yeah.
direct proportion to the heat of the beat. And yeah, anyway.
So it would be
the
slightly
hippopotamus hide.
larger than two 24s.
You have a whiteboard.
It would be slightly larger than
Not
two.
on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and you can hold it up.
They also announced
probably like two 27s.
maybe. Yeah, maybe.
I think you're smoking crack now, Alan.
Okay.
Also, they announced the line is a CHG 70, which is available in a 32 and a 27 inch. These are 2560 by 1440 resolution, so your standard 60 by 9 resolution, 1 millisecond response rate, FreeSync 2 still, same color spaces. And by the way, all three of these use Samsung's Quantum Dot technology, 144 hertz refresh rates. These two are $599 for the 27-inch version and $699 for the 32-inch version. So that's, I mean, for $699 you can get a 32-inch, 25 by 14, 144 hertz HDR panel.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now I haven't seen it in person, so I can't judge the quality or what the difference between a 100% DCI-P3 versus 95% DCI-P3 would actually be. But they're impressive. These are, I think, can you put a link in our chat that their pre-orders started?
Yeah, the pre-order on
Samsung site for those?
Samsung at least. I think Newegg as well.
They're doing it dumb. Like the 49-inch, you pre-order through Amazon. The
You can pre-order the
32-inch.
49-inch more places as well. I know
really?
Micro Center's doing it at least.
The 32-inch was at Newegg, and then the 27-inch was going to be at Samsung.
I know you
So-
can get the 27 and the 32 at Samsung at least.
Okay.
And I saw the 49 at Micro Center. I think the two smaller ones are like July, they were saying, like July 10th-ish.
Right. Yeah, that's still pretty impressive. I'm eager to see those. Like, I would like to see more of the HDR stuff more sooner. Thank you, please. Xbox One X. We don't have to talk about this a whole lot because we have talked about Scorpio quite a bit. But now we know the name, the Xbox One X, and we know it's going to be available November 7th for $499. What do you guys think about the pricing on that? I know we had debated whether it was going to be $399 or $499 before the press conference, but the fact that you're getting a 8-core processor, but it's a Jaguar core base still, a 6 teraflop GPU that is kind of a mixture of Polaris Vega based on what they've said, 12 gigs of memory, GDDR5 memory, a 1 terabyte standard hard drive for $499. I mean, from a pure specification standpoint, that's impressive.
Yeah, I think
Numbers.
I think objectively it's a fair price. I think if you take into point their market position and what people are willing to pay for consoles, it's $100 too expensive.
I don't know.
You know what the best part about that is?
No.
It's still got an optical disc.
Yeah.
Well,
Dun,
yes.
It's got a
Dun.
4K Blu-ray drive in it, unlike the PS4 Pro.
How cool is that?
Which, if you took the PS4 Pro and added the price of a 4K Blu-ray drive, you'd be over the Xbox One X.
It's true.
Mm.
So obviously they're pushing like 4K capabilities on this. They've done a lot of talk about 4K 60 and talking about some games or mini games being designed for it. And I think they showed Forza or a racing game running at 4K 60.
They showed, I think every 4K title they showed was running at 60.
Well, okay, if they're showing it at 4K, I'm sure they're doing that. That makes sense. But there's still going to be this is the equivalent. So if you look at raw teraflops, it's the equivalent of a GTX 580. I'm sorry, an RX 580, not a GTX 580. Done that twice today. However, Microsoft has done, they're talking about the efficiencies of the operating system and the APIs they were able to build into it because it is console, not a general standard PC, that they're getting more efficiency out of that 6 teraflops than they would otherwise. So they're comparing it up to like a GTX 1070 level of performance. Some people have.
Yeah, that quote came from the ARC developer,
okay.
Which, I mean, is a very PC-focused developer. They started on the PC, and they've been doing early access on Steam for a long time. So you would think they would have a decent understanding of sort of PC hardware compatibility.
Begs the question, can you mine on an Xbox One X?
If you made a UWP mining application, because UWP apps follow to the Xbox One now.
Yeah, there you go, guys.
I don't know what your memory limitations are.
I mean, it's 8 gigs of GDDR. It's up to 9 gigs of GDDR4, right?
I think UWP apps only get 1 gigabyte of RAM.
Just make it a game.
You couldn't do that. You have to go through the
I don't think you're going to get this one from the Windows Store.
All right.
I don't know.
Worth a shot.
It'll be some nice Russian boy.
So I mean, I think it's pretty cool, right? I know we have a lot of people that listen to the show that don't really care anything about consoles, but I think it's super interesting to see the technology they can cram into these machines and what they're willing to sell them for.
So is it a good or bad thing that the console cycles have become quite a bit shorter? I mean, it was like 7 years, and now we've got 2 years since the Xbox One S.
Well, that doesn't really count.
Xbox One to Xbox One S. Then
the One S doesn't count. It's just they made it smaller.
It was.
If you're asking Dr. Lisa Su, the answer is yes.
No, I mean they've always made like the PS2 Slim and the PS1 ONE. Like they've always done that. That didn't count as a new generation.
Yeah, but not at this compressed timeline. Usually the slim ones have been when they're about ready to introduce the new version. They have a smaller, lower price that people can get who are not willing to pay the higher price of, a $499 PS3.
Right.
Sure.
I mean, I think with the homogenization, the standardization of componentry in these, that it makes sense. And I also think that it's in the end, it's good news for PC gamers that this console comes out and pushes 4K on developers. So developers that maybe have always been console focused now have the desire to spend the time and money on asset generation for 4K content. Higher resolution textures and better lighting effects or whatever you need to get 4K looking as good as it can. And some of that will roll down to the PC. I think the frequent iterations of console hardware also means that console-focused developers will now have to be more aware of what you do when you have to address multiple levels of hardware at a time with one game. Something that PC developers have had to do forever, right? So it's only going to improve the ecosystem, and I don't think this has to be like one ecosystem gaining market share over the other or vice versa. So I'm excited. So what is that? What did I say? November 7th?
Yeah.
For that?
I mean, I'm going to pre-order one.
Yeah.
Half because I want a 4K Blu-ray player anyways.
Yeah.
And I have a Xbox One and I play games on that occasionally when I'm not doing it on a PC. So it seems like a decent investment.
Who is excited for wireless charging mice? Woo! There we go. We got one over there. Have you ever been using a wireless mouse only to have it suddenly die while you were, say, working on something?
Nope, never.
And then
I know at least 3 people in this office.
Then
that
I just plug it in.
What's that?
Then I just plug it in.
Yeah,
But
but
what if you
where's
didn't
the
have
cable?
Right there on the
That's
desk.
why I use
Not
the ones
really.
with
No,
batteries.
it's not.
But what if you kept your desk neat instead of a mess?
Yeah, what
Still
if you
right.
did that?
It's on top of all the
what's
stuff on the
wrong
desk.
with you
It's
then?
on top of the mess.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Logitech announced PowerPlay, which is a mouse mat that has wireless charging capability over the entirety of the mat, not just one location. Now, you have to have a specific mouse to support this. They've announced 2 mice as well, the G903 and the G703, that support this. But the idea is you never have to charge your mouse again. You never have to plug it in.
Or it always is charging.
It's infinite power.
Well,
Infinite power, as
Okay.
long as that mouse mat cable stays plugged in.
okay.
Right. So
Does this mean that your wrist is constantly getting an MRI?
I think the EFI on this is going to be really low.
I would imagine. But, yeah.
It's so I have the G900, which is the progenitor to this G903 that's shown in this photo, and I really like it. But when you have a high speed, like high performance sensor that they do, it uses a lot of power. So like the battery life of that mouse might be
It's like a day or two.
No, it's a little bit longer than that.
depends.
It might be 5 days, maybe
I guess
4 days.
Depends on how much you're actually.
But like
using
the
mouse.
MX Master that you use can go weeks.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just
Which is just long enough for you to put that cable away. Like, I don't
Right.
need that.
exactly.
No.
So the idea with this is for the high performance gaming, they've already gone out of their way to prove that the wireless tech works for gaming, that there's no latency and
Yeah, it's
lag
very good.
differentials.
Yeah.
So now they just provide power up through that thing. And apparently it was a very difficult technical problem to solve to get a surface that is 275 by 320 millimeters
where you could be anywhere on
anywhere
the
on the
surface.
mat, and it still is
Yeah,
providing.
there's
And
not
even if
sweet
you're using it
spots.
full speed,
Yeah.
it's providing enough power, more power than the mouse can consume. Right. So it will charge faster if you leave the mouse still, because the mouse sensor goes into a power save state, and the
Yeah, the rest of the mouse powers down.
right.
the charging
It'll
is still
charge
the same.
faster if you turn the LEDs off, things like that, right? They're very upfront about.
But my RGB.
But if the mouse is always just sitting on the pad, you're not worried about the rate anyway. It'll
Now
just
it still has a normal battery in it. Like you can plug it in. So if you're going to go you want to take your mouse with you don't want to take your power play with you, then you can still do that, and it basically works exactly as the G900 does today. The power play has it's a hard surface, and then they give you the soft surface to cover it if you prefer that, and the wireless power still works through it. Or no, actually, there's the surface, and then you get the hard or soft topper on top of it, and then the bottom of the mouse has either a 10-gram weight, like a circular 10-gram weight, or the power play
charger.
like charging module
coil or
thing.
something.
Yeah. So I'm pretty excited for it. It's not inexpensive. The G900 was a $159 mouse. The G903 is a $150 mouse, and the G703 is $100. And then the mat itself is $99.
Well, another
$99.
another $100.
Another $100.
Yeah.
About $99.99.
That's
It
too
probably is.
expensive. Like, it's first gen, and the price will come down.
Are
but
they-
It's too expensive right now.
So the 903 costs the same as the 900.
Yeah.
Are they going to just phase out the 900 and make the 903 what you buy?
Probably, because it will work without this power play
Right.
thing. Yeah, I would imagine they would, because now they've basically added a new feature, the 903, where you can have a 10-gram weight or not.
Yeah.
Whereas on that one you didn't.
Right. So you just buy that mouse, and even if you didn't
Unless it
intend
maybe
to buy the mat,
affects the size of the internal battery, like maybe they had to make the internal battery smaller.
I don't know.
I'd have to see. We'll get this hardware in pretty soon. So I'm really impressed with it. It's one of those things that people have asked for a long time. Like, why don't
Wireless
you
charging.
just have the mouse charge all the time? Somebody in the comments said, well, why not make it bigger so your keyboard sits on it and your keyboard just gets its power from it too?
Because it's expensive to make this kind of a mat.
Yeah, that's true. Eventually it will be less expensive, but I like the idea, right? And
It's built into your desk.
now you have a wireless
basically-
keyboard as
it's
well.
basically a bunch of coils, that are powered at a very high frequency is the thing.
Yeah.
So it's different. This is probably, if I'm guessing correctly, it's probably different than your typical inductive charger.
I don't know. They
It's-
did
it's-
say the only thing I know about that is they basically said, I said, when are we going to get bigger pads of this? And they said, unless there's like a fundamental technological change,
Yeah.
they don't know if they'd be able to get larger pads past EFI regulations, like all over the world. So
Yeah, because
Worth
that's
noting.
probably
I plug
working.
in my mouse pad, and suddenly the airport goes dark.
Yeah,
And the voices in my head start up.
do
and all
not
the
use,
airplanes fall from the
don't
sky.
use this in coach. If your seat's empty next to you, you plug it into your laptop and you've got your mouse out. Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. I'm sure it's fine actually. So that's coming out. That'll be out. I think end of July, middle of July, something like that.
Yeah,
So-
but it's basically like, I said, joked saying MRI before, but it's probably using magnetic resonance to transfer the power. It's just not at the power level of an MRI, but
Oh no,
no,
no.
it's
Seeing
I
how
can't
fast it could
lift
charge
my
if it
mouse.
was.
But if that lowers the strain on our medical ecosystem, maybe that'd be worth it. If we
It
can
just
get
gives
some
you,
MR.
Yeah, 'cause
you game for a few
plugged
hours.
this-
You game for a few
I plugged
hours and you
this
end up
in.
with a scan of your hand, like just prints out on the screen.
Oh, you could chart the RSI as you play Dota too.
Yeah, exactly. You could just watch.
Here are the stress points.
Logitech also announced a G43 gaming headset. I'm not going to dive much into this. Sebastian did a news post, but he's finishing up the final points of a review on it as well. It's available in cool colors like red, black, blue, and camo blue. But the interesting thing about this is that they're trying to get away from the like only gamers would wear this type of headset that they have made in the past. Trying to go
As
something
compared
more.
to Tickle Me Elmo is going to wear
Yeah.
these.
This is
as
fashion
well.
forward, I would say. This is, I mean,
Yeah,
look,
Cookie
there's
Monster's
a
going
black
to look
one,
great in the blue.
right? Just because you
Look at
guys
my
are
ears.
old and don't pay attention to what the stylings of the hip young kids do doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
I'm too busy telling them to get off my lawn.
Yeah, exactly. But it does have the same drivers as the more expensive 933 headset, and these are $99. They are wireless. No, hold on. I see no wires
No, I
coming out
think
of
it's
this.
got velour wire.
I'm sorry, say that again.
3.5 millimeter
Yeah,
audio
yeah,
mic
yeah, you're right,
velour wire. Smooth velour.
They also, I will also point out that I don't know if we had it noted in here, but Logitech told me that they did a lot of work on the microphone side of things because a lot of, with gaming headsets, a lot of the complaint is that your voice is tinny, and
And
Yeah,
the thing is,
gaming microphones usually suck.
and the thing is, there's an awful lot of there's usually variants from mic to mic, like just the way that they're
in
made.
the same product, you mean?
Yeah, like just the physical. If you ordered 1,000 of these little mic parts to put in these things, like you just get, one might sound different than another one,
Right.
right? And some of them do come out like really tinny.
They said they've added they said they worked on this a lot on this one, so it should be a deeper, fuller sound to the microphone.
All right.
So we'll wait for Sebastian's take on that. Hopefully in the not too distant future. What else we got in here? Alienware 51. They announced a Core i9 variant and a Threadripper variant.
An exclusive Threadripper variant.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
They said
We
have
don't know yet.
exclusive pre-built systems using Threadripper.
That it didn't give like a time frame or anything for it.
Of course not.
And we don't know how long it's going to
Oh,
be
I know. Through
exclusive.
2017, they said.
Oh, it says through 2017.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So that's disappointing.
That's I mean, yeah. Like if you're main gear, those types of guys, Origin PC, that's probably pretty frustrating. Unless maybe that doesn't count. OEM partners are different than like boutique SIs. I don't know what their clever relationship building
Exclusive. We're the only.
Can I not buy these parts, put them in a computer, and sell them?
We're the only Alienware.
No.
We're the only Alienware PC maker.
would do. With word
Putting
alien in our name.
Threadripper in our thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exclusive.
It's not called Dell.
Yeah.
So,
Alienware.
I mean, and this also gave us a time frame for release, correct? Because didn't they say you can pre-order these starting June 27th? I think
Will be
supposed-
available beginning June 27th.
I think that's supposed to be July.
Yeah, I think it's July.
You don't
It's
think
July.
Threadripper's
It's
launching
July
in
27th.
13 days.
Sebastian, if you're listening, double check that for me. Go in there and make that fix. I'm pretty sure it's July 27th. Because otherwise, holy shit. But, by the way, I'm pretty sure this rendering. What do those GPUs look like to you guys?
580s.
580s.
Yep.
GTX 580.
Yes. And also, there's no power supply cables coming out of the power supply.
So what's the TDW on the Threadripper?
They don't say.
Because that
More
looks
Yeah,
like
we're
than
going to have
two.
an official.
that looks pretty small of a cooler.
I wouldn't take anything into consideration from this photo,
Okay.
other than the shape of the case on the outside.
That does
If
look
I
like
had
a
a
pretty
guess,
big cooler, though.
if I had a guess,
Nah.
it's like
it's a 140
2.5.
watt TDP.
Okay.
If I had a guess, I would say maybe. I don't know. I don't know, but it's nice to get a time frame for that.
It's pretty stupid that the bottom line of these is going to be with the GTX 1050 Ti.
A 16 core processor with a 16 or 12 core processor with 1050 Ti.
A gaming
I only do
16-core
video
processor.
editing, Ken.
then you should get a better GPU.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, so let me ask you this before we go on.
Yes, you may.
About TDPs
Yes.
is didn't Computex some air cooled guys show off Threadripper Ripper fans?
Noctua
So it's
did.
got to be less than 180.
Hey, but Josh.
Hey, but what?
What if there was more than one TDP?
There can
Okay,
be
you
only
got a
one.
140 watt TDP and 150 and 165 at the high end.
What if?
What if? Well, you could possibly happen, but
favorite
I'm just
Creed
saying
song.
that once you get above 180, you're looking at all water cooling.
Yes, you are.
So then why would you have... Okay, well, I guess you answered the question. What if?
Ta-da! Yeah, I don't know.
You're so smart. You're so smart.
I'm
I'm
not.
so dumb.
Well.
Speaking of that, I did the math on those monitors. It's 27 inch.
Okay. Speaking of which, what were we talking
Of
about?
him being so dumb with
Oh,
knowing how to
Wide
math.
HD.
He did the
that was
math.
like
He did the monster math.
that was like
Math was-
25 minutes ago.
Math is hard. Yeah, I know.
the Core, and also it's worth pointing out they're making a Core X variant of this Area 51 desktop as well, meaning that Core i9, Skylake X, all that type of stuff will also be available.
Breaking: Dell puts latest Intel processors into Alienware computers.
Yeah. So
Creates cheesy render to show us.
Yep. Not a lot here. Similar designs. You know, I don't, what's it say the GPU options are on this one? Start at 1050 Ti. They do not mention a 1080 Ti. Oh, they do. Okay.
Yeah,
A
you can have
liquid cooled
the
you can
GeForce
get-
1080.
SLI 1080Is.
Oh, okay. There you
or
go.
3 580s if you want to mine.
Like,
sure.
like they're going to be able to put those GPUs in that machine.
Dell can't afford them. They wouldn't be able to do that. Speaking of Alienware as well, we've also got this. They announced monitors, 240 hertz gaming monitors. Is this the first time they've done this, or have I missed something?
Freaking 240?
First time on
sure. First
240,
time.
that's for sure.
Like that they've just made monitors themselves that they're selling alone?
I don't know if Alienware has ever made monitors before.
I mean, it's just Dell now, so it kind of makes
Yeah.
sense. And this is a good way for them to get like a Dell gaming display brand for free.
But does Dell make a panel that does 240?
Dell
They
doesn't
sell?
make any panels.
I mean, a display.
I mean, they do now.
I mean, they
It
just buy the
says-
panel from whoever makes it.
There's already been a 240 hertz
1080p.
1080p panel.
Asus
Asus
sells it.
announced it at CES, yeah. But this is 240 hertz TN 1080p 24.5 inch G-Sync model $699, while the FreeSync model is $499. So that's interesting. Is this the first time we've seen like identical specs come out from FreeSync and G-Sync
Yeah,
monitors? Maybe.
They're charging.
Probably not, but it's a good example of it.
Yeah, because it's just right there, right next
And
to
from
each
what we
other.
understand,
Plus 200.
from what we understand, a G-Sync module does not actually cost $200.
New.
So they're just cashing in on like the G-Sync name a little bit
I
more.
would say we probably have no idea what it costs.
I'm pretty sure it's
I'm
not
sure-
$200.
I'm sure the hardware itself is not $200.
We've seen enough panels where you had a very similar model between a FreeSync and a G-Sync panel, where the cost difference is more like 150 or 100.
We have.
We have.
Yeah.
We have.
Tell me they've always been 200.
It's
Difference?
a pretty
I would
coincidental
say
number.
$200 is pretty common. I would say it's easily the most common. If there was one that was $100 and it wasn't like sales of one or the other type of thing, I'd be surprised. I guess it would
But
have
you
to be sales of
seriously
G-Sync.
think that NVIDIA is selling one of these modules to an OEM in bulk of God knows how many thousands? They're charging $200 a pop.
Well, no, or they'd
And
be
that-
$400.
And then,
or
see,
maybe
yeah, 'cause
maybe
I don't think you understand the intricacies of what their business model is.
and
It's
maybe
not
there's a
just
chunk of
selling
money
that.
for like a certification process
Maybe.
oh,
that
maybe.
Maybe a certification process, maybe like a branding and a licensing thing.
you got to amortize
Maybe
that
physical
across every
hardware.
monitor.
There's
Yeah,
also
maybe.
the idea of we just want to appear to be the best product, and the best products cost more. So there you go.
Yes.
That's what MacBook lives on. Best products cost more.
As Ken.
Grumple, grumple, grumple.
All the iMacs are the best Macs, are the best computers.
How much would that keyboard have been if you had to have bought it?
Oh, I have like it. They replace the keyboard, which also includes the Touch ID module and the fingerprint sensor. It's like a $900 repair.
Yeah.
To replace the keyboard on a
Lenovo
MacBook.
prices.
To replace the keyboard on the MacBook.
Because I had a keycap that kind of snapped, like it didn't actuate right, and the like plastic snapped.
Yeah.
So they had to replace $900 worth of components.
Yeah.
Thank God for warranty.
What happens when you own that laptop and you're out of warranty and you know,
Nothing. Dumpster.
Yeah.
By that time, someone
dumpster.
Just dumpster fire is what
throw it
happens.
away.
You have a very pretty paperweight.
Very pretty though. Very pretty. All right, a couple of last things here that came out of E3 or launched at E3. NVIDIA's and their partners are launching Destiny 2 bundles. Jeremy, is this right? We wrote it up for EVGA, but I assume it's not just EVGA.
Well, that's who's told us so far. But seeing as how you're claiming it from GeForce.com, I'm betting you're right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, considering I bought a 1080 Ti on Monday, I read the GeForce.com site. It's not only EVGA. I'm pissed, but it's not only EVGA.
Yeah.
Because I don't.
So if you were hoping for Dawn of War 3, that one's gone. It's Destiny 2 now.
Wait a minute. What the hell happened? I just went to GeForce.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just redirects you to NVIDIA.com/GeForce now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a very different site.
Yeah.
It must be the new GeForce experience that you're having.
Oh, great. Does that make you sign in?
That's interesting.
Yeah, they will. But
There's no
either way,
Anyway, sorry. There's no content on the page anymore.
it's usually Logitech, Creative that does that. But anyways, if you can make it there, essentially buy your graphics card, sign up to whatever provider you bought it from. They'll give you a code. That code gets you Destiny 2 free, as well as a chance to get it on the early PC beta, which is a good idea considering this is mostly multiplayer. So learn all the maps and get good before everyone starts playing it.
I didn't play any. I played 0 minutes of the first. No, that's a lie.
I played 0 minutes.
I bet I played the beta.
None.
That's what it was.
I wanted, like, I kept hearing, like, pretty decent things about, like, the shooting. I mean, everything else around the game was kind of a garbage fire.
It got better.
Yeah. But
It got better.
I think this will be, like, a good point to jump in and be cool.
Yeah, I'm eager to try.
And
it.
it's on PC now,
Now it's
which
on
makes
PC,
it way
so
better.
infinitely better.
Yeah.
And also, there's a rumor from E3 that original Xbox games might potentially be coming to Windows.
I don't think there's a rumor.
That
I
would
think
be
that was a
an
guy
easier
saying.
thing.
I think that was a guy saying yes.
No, they talked about. They definitely confirmed original Xbox games coming to the Xbox One X.
Right.
Well, Xbox One.
Yes, but I don't think they specifically said yes to it coming to Windows.
Oh.
Yet.
I think that was I want people to be able to play games. I'm just confused people are happy about console ports, because generally that's
ports.
upsetting.
Literally, it's just emulation. It's not a port of anything.
Yeah.
Have you never
It's not
emulated
even
a game
emulation
console,
because-
Jeremy?
It's all x86.
Nothing from
DX8.
later than the 80s.
Well,
I mean, it's the same processor though. If you're trying to.
yeah, I guess this CPU was an Intel Celeron.
Yeah, it was
so,
x86 and a NVIDIA GPU.
Yeah.
It was a PC.
So it shouldn't be that difficult to make that work.
Well, I mean, I don't know
No.
other intricacies go on in that, but
if you've got the documents on how it worked, it would be easy to get running.
If you are Microsoft,
also
the communities having
there's a
issues.
cost benefit ratio here
Yeah.
of like how much are people willing to pay for original Xbox like games on their Windows PC, and how much effort does it cost the developer to put that together?
Like the confusing part to me is, so on the Xbox One, you'll be able to put in an Xbox disc and it will verify that you own it and download it and add it to your account. Are they going to do that on the PC? And like, is a regular PC can't read an Xbox original disc.
You put it in your Xbox, and then you also have the option to download it on your PC.
That's probably how it would work.
okay,
Yeah.
so if a PC understood where to look, or knew where to look on a disc, it could figure it out.
Yeah, but I feel like you'd run into weird optical drive compatibility problems at that point because
No, the Xbox disc can be read just fine.
I would say, yeah, it's more of a file format thing than anything.
Yeah, it was the file system that was.
So if there's
what was
like a
messed up.
set of bits it could look at, and
Yeah, because you could back in the day, you could pull images of Xbox. Like,
but even that being said, I still think you'd have to have an Xbox as well. You put it in that, and it's validated for your account. But now it's cross-play type stuff, and you can play it on your Xbox or your Windows PC.
which would be cool.
I can finally play the original Halo again.
That was
There's
fun.
never been any other
Halo
way.
2, which is like impossible to find.
Crimson Sky.
Halo
Except
1 was
Master
never
Chief.
released on PC.
Yeah, it was.
What Halo 2 was original DX9 release? No, DX10.
10.
Did
It was
Halo 2
Vista
ever come out on
only.
the
Yeah.
PC?
It did. Vista only.
Vista
Oh,
only.
yeah.
Remember
Yep.
that shit show?
Oh,
That
was
and that
garbage.
stupid Frozen Planet game.
Lost Planet.
Lost Planet.
Yes, Lost Planet.
close, very close. All right. We're going to get into our hardware software picks of the week, and I'm going to go last because maybe I don't have one. But we're going to go
Maybe.
Jeremy,
Cheating.
Josh, Alan, Alex. So we'll start with Jeremy.
Do you want me to talk slowly so you have more time?
No, I don't need time. I'm good.
All right. So up here in Canada, we're a little bit behind on the Bitcoins. There is a store just down the street from me where I could go pick up a 580. Thing is that
What?
580 is $470.
Okay.
Or I could pop on Newegg, which has GTX 1070s, which, as we mentioned before, is actually better than a 1080 for mining, and it's only $420 right now, counting the mail and rebite.
That ain't
So
bad.
if you're thinking about it and you have the cash, do it now, because I guarantee these things are going to be gone within the week.
Yeah.
That's also my prediction is what the
So-
next time we have a podcast, you won't be able to buy a 1070 for
Even if you put
retail.
yourself in hawk, you'll be able to sell this thing again for $600-700 easy in a couple of weeks, assuming Bitcoin doesn't collapse. So take
Fair.
Ken's advice. If you're going to do it, go into this into their little shared program. That what'd you call it again?
Nice hash.
Nice
Hash.
Yes.
Nice hash. And rent out your GPU like it was.
It's the sharing
Your
economy.
younger sister?
Yeah.
Wait,
Well,
whoa, whoa,
yeah.
whoa.
That's kind of where I was going.
It's like Airbnb, but for GPUs.
Yes.
Oh, no, I think I turned off. Oh, hold on. Continue.
Josh, what do you
I
got?
was going to say, I think I turned off my trackpad. I don't know. Uh-oh. Continue. I can still use the keyboard, however.
That's nice.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so if you do by chance have a pair of 1070s or 1080s and you need an HP SLI,
Mhm.
then these aren't too shabby. I mean, they're the least expensive of them, except, of course, I think somebody's got a 1995, but it's a three space that doesn't work on a lot of different motherboards. But this is, the one space for EVGA. $39. The build quality seems nice. I can't crack it in half with a little bit of pressure. It's not flexible.
Good,
Yeah.
Good.
Hopefully your 1070 doesn't have strange ridges that would impede where this goes.
Just make sure to clarify for the naming for everybody how they name them. Like, so when they say they say one slot spacing there, that means if you had two slot GPUs installed,
With one slot in
there would
between.
be one slot left in between. The assumption is that is a 2-slot GPU.
Yes. Yes.
So you can't just look at the motherboard and start counting slots between, okay, the GPU goes here and the other GPU goes here. You'll be off
Very
by
few
one.
people have single slot video cards anymore, so I understand.
Sure,
the
but
need
if
for
you're
it,
calling
but-
it one slot or two slot, there are two slots there.
Yeah, there are 2 slots between those 2 GPUs.
There
Yeah, I
are
guess.
two
Don't
slots.
Call me a
But
slot.
yeah,
I don't
that's
know you well
the
enough.
assumption. All GPUs are 2-slot. So,
So,
Yes.
I don't
There's
know-
that single slot
You've been warned.
1070. What you gonna
clear
do
as
now?
mud.
Oh, my trackpad died. I can't do
Use the
anything.
touchscreen.
Oh yeah, I can do that. Okay. Look at that. 2 interfaces. So so they have a 0 slot,
Sounds stupid.
right?
Which are
One
the
slot,
2
slot,
GPUs
and 4 slot.
spooning.
Yes. Which you probably shouldn't do unless you absolutely have to for cooling considerations.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, Alan.
Yeah, so I think we recommended the older version of this like a year ago, but it's dirt cheap right now.
Okay.
It's the Anker. Now it's a 6-port charger. Used to be 5.
It's been creeping up.
I think I have
yeah.
the 6, but we have the 5 back on that shelf. I carry the 6 with me as I travel.
I think I have the 4 at home.
Yeah,
and the 4 and the early versions of the 5-port version actually had that issue where if you like your charger was a little, your cable was a little bit iffy, it might actually pop a fuse.
Yeah.
In the
internally in the thing.
And they were really good about honoring, like, hey, if one of your ports dies, like, they just like sent me a new one,
Yes.
like the 5-port, right? But since then, they've made it so that it's a type of fuse that will actually reset. It's like a thermal fuse.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's $25 for, 6-port charger. Like, you spend $25 on like
it's
a
good.
regular.
It's high power, like it's 2.4 amp.
Yeah, 2.4 amps times 6.
Yep. 12 amps overall. Right, so you can go 2 amps on all 6 ports.
Yeah.
I bring this with me when I travel because I have
all sorts of crap.
I have my phone, I have my
Watch.
headphones, I have my watch, and I have my iPad.
Yep.
Right, and so like I use the iPad for like watching videos and stuff on the plane. So there's at least 4 devices, and then sometimes I'll charge like an external battery or something.
And it'll charge the iPad at full speed.
And you can get these with USB-C ports now. So you can get like 5 Type A and a USB-C. So if you have a USB-C laptop, you don't need to bring your power adapter anymore. Just get a C to C cable.
This is a bad picture on this page here because this is perfect for travel. And it is. It's great. Except if you notice, there's no power cord coming out.
It's holding down your passport.
On that one,
They're just trying to show how small it is because it's pretty compact.
Yeah.
Easy to
It's funny, this picture is like I was like 12 hours ago.
Now I don't know I don't know if their MSRP is.
Ago.
I don't know if their MSRP is actually as high as it.
I've never seen it at that price.
But 25 is a pretty good figure for that charger. What?
This is this vision of them, like these people
waffles,
sitting around waffles and
or fruity pebbles.
You're at the hotel,
pebbles, bringing a continental breakfast up to your room like a psychopath.
Where's the chicken?
Oh man, that's pretty good. Pretty good. All right, Alex, you had one.
I did.
All right, what do you got?
Well, my postal worker was complaining that they couldn't see my mailbox.
That's a bad sign.
It's a bad sign. So actually, I got this last year, but I finally got it out yesterday. And this is the Steel FS 130 is the one I have, but they upgraded to the 131. This is a epic weed eater. It is.
Why didn't you just use fluorescent tape to outline the mailbox in the top?
No.
It's much cheaper.
The mailbox was engulfed.
That's why.
In grass. I mean, it was a mess. It was pathetic. My neighbors were complaining.
I understand.
So, and since this is podcast 454, I have to have a motor type, pick of the week.
Oh.
Yeah. See, we did an hour and a half of not making a Chevy joke. So, there it is.
Even then, it's not really a joke as much as it is a reference.
I'm surprised your pick was not like one of those 454 powered like chainsaws.
No. This is actually useful.
Because that's a thing.
This has to be useful.
Oh, okay.
And as it turns out, you can use the nylon line in 3D printers if you get real desperate.
I have 3 pounds of it. I'll bring some in. We can try that out.
No. I don't want to.
You don't want to?
But people did that early in the 3D printing days. Because plastic in that format was difficult to find, so they would use nylon weed whacker line.
It is a very pretty green.
Yeah.
All right, I've got my pick ready.
Oh, thank goodness.
All right, here it is.
That's a bad pick.
No, why?
Because you can't plug it into a by 16 card without modifying it.
But here's
only
this
one in stock.
So this is a
there's one in stock.
It's a PCIe 1X riser card extender cable ribbon that is actually available for me here in free same day shipping. I can get more of these within 2 hours if I need them.
Yeah, that's true.
They're $6.90,
which is actually pretty cheap considering the current market.
Now the problem is we can't really show it really.
Yeah, it'll show up in that.
So like this corner,
it is not a buy one slot that has the opening in one end.
Yeah, like it's on a buy one slot that is open on the back side. It allows you to install something larger than a buy one. Card in there.
Like maybe a buy 16 GPU.
Like maybe a GPU.
Yeah. Maybe.
So we bought a bunch of these, or I don't know, we bought like 4 of them, I guess, and we got them in and was like, oh, well, that's disappointing. And so we said, Alan, bring the Dremel in when you come in. And so he dremeled out the back of it.
Yep.
Basically, and it's only plastic that we were dremeling out.
It's a pretty quick job. He's only killed one out of like 15.
I only broke one, and I modded like 15 total. I think.
And so you got to do that, which is unfortunate, but it is available, and I think that's why it's available, is because you have to be a little bit more knowledgeable in that card. And to be fair, in the description, it does say mount a PCI Express buy one card. At any angle in a case or whatever.
And if you're doing mining, these aren't the ideal ones you'd want. The ones that add power in the middle, they're using USB 3 cables or Molex connectors. Help a lot with mining, which
that's like actually
alleviates
we
the
haven't had
issues.
any issues with these though.
Well, we had
Other
6
than
of
the
them plugged
Dremel.
into one motherboard, and it wouldn't work because of
We had 5.
we had 6, and we went to 5.
We had 5 and we went to
6 was
4.
too much.
Whatever. Okay, fine.
Because that motherboard also had a PCI slot on it, so
Sweet.
we didn't try that one.
Finally using those AM3 motherboards.
Yeah, a lot of processors sitting around.
Does we have hash benchmarks for any AGB cards?
AGP, huh?
Yep.
3DFX.
It's been a while. Yeah, get that 3DFX Voodoo 5 6000
I was thinking like Voodoo too.
out there.
With the pass through.
The old SOI.
All right, everybody, that is going to finish the show for us this week. Thank you for joining us. PCPer.com/podcast. Go to that URL to find our show notes, links to all the stories we talked about, RSS feeds to the MP3 downloads, YouTube videos, how to subscribe to everything, links to the Patreon campaign, links to the subscribe page, all that type of stuff is all there. So PCPer.com/podcast is the URL to really go to for that. So we'll be back next week. Let me see. What can I tease about next week?
Will you even be here next week?
Yeah, I think I get back Wednesday at like 5 p.m.
Perfect.
next week. You'll know more about servers next week. Maybe servers that can hold 12 GPUs for coin mining. Who knows? You just don't know what you're going to get, right? So thanks, everybody. We'll be back next week. I'm Ryan Trout.
I'm Jeremy Elstrom.
I'm Josh Walrath.
And I'm Alan Malventano.
Goodbye. If you enjoyed this content, consider supporting in-depth technical content by contributing at patreon.com/PCPer.